Hello and welcome to our just quick tutorial. This is just kind of going over what we did in class. I said I'd throw up a quick video. So let's have a quick look at what we've got here. So we'll press play first of all, and I'm going to hold down the Control key, Alt key, and I have a reticule here, and I can look around and it changes. You can see I can move this cube by looking at it, and yeah, so let's see what we've got here. So first of all, I've got a canvas with two buttons on it, and we'll look at that in a minute. And I've got this cube here, I've got my camera, and I'm trying to make sort of a VR, very basic VR prototype. Okay, so let's have a look at how we do that. So, first of all, in order to get this to work, we need to go into our build settings, and we need to switch platform to the Android platform. Then after we've done that, we need to go into our player settings, and then here for XR settings, we need to turn on virtual reality support. And then when you do that, you'll have a blank box here, and you have to hit plus and add cardboard as your method of delivery. So we're going to make a VR game for Google Cardboard. Then after you've done that, you need to download the Google VR assets, which are a package, and I think I have put them. Hang on. And no, I haven't done it yet. So I'm going to put them in your folder. So it's I think it's on my desktop here. Yeah, this is it here. So this is the Google VR for Unity 1.19.0.1. So it's a package, and it's downloadable from, if you just Google it, you'll get it. But I'll put it in our resource folder. When you import the pack, you get all this stuff here. And then in order to make the world a VR world, actually let's just delete everything and start from scratch so you can see me build it. Okay. So we have nothing, so let's build it. So let's go camera, and we'll place our camera at 0, 0, 0. Okay, so we have a camera, and in order to get this camera to work, we need to add certain things to it. So I need to go into our prefabs here, and I'm going to add the reticule pointer to it. I also need to add script, which is this one here, so GVR pointer physics raycaster. So I need to add that to the camera. Now excuse me, when I do that and I press play, I should get, yeah, there's the reticule there. Now in order to make a VR game, now we could export an APK file at this stage and it would work, but life is short to be doing that all the time, so we want to be able to preview things in here. So to do that, we need to add in a GVR controller main into our scene. We need to add in GVR editor emulator, and we also need to add in one more, which is I'm trying to remember which one this is. That one, I think. So these ones here. So if I press play now, I should be able to hold down, yeah, my Alt key and my Control key and look around. So they work. So now let's put in a cube. So there's a cube, and we'll put that in our Where is it? There. So we'll place that there, and we'll go play, and we'll see if we can get it to. So if I can look at it, so that I'm looking at it, and it's not the the gaze input isn't changing when it sees the cube. So the cube has a collider, but it needs an event system or an event trigger, and that's what we're missing here. So it's the event system that we were missing. Not that one. Okay. So now, but this cube, regardless of me putting that in, needs this event trigger. So when I press play now, when I look at it, and I can't move now. Ooh, okay. So I have my controller main, emulator, event system. So let me check that one more time. I may have to throw that other prefab back in. Oh, sorry, no. What I need to do is I need to tag my camera now. It needs to be tagged main camera. Sorry about that. So now we can look around, and you can see that the gaze input changes now when I look over the cube, and that's because the cube now has this event trigger. So I have a couple of scripts here. We looked at some of these in class. So I have one here called cube that I'm going to put on the cube, and this script here, which is not open, so let's open that. It's super basic, and I have a speed, and then I'm saying if I run this function here up, then move the cube up. Okay, so that's it. That's not terribly exciting. So how do I get it, the input, the gaze input, to move the cube? So I go new event, pointer enter. So that's basically when the dot enters the collider. And now I need to give it a command, or get it to run a method. So I'm going to drop this in here, and I'm going to say cube up. So this is what I want to run, this function here. So when I press play now, and I hold down the Alt key, and I look at this guy, you can see he's starting to move up. So every time I enter, he's moving. So you can see that the gaze input can now work. So then the task we set ourselves in class was to make a very simple game. So I'm going to create an empty, and I'm going to make that at 0, 0, 0, and we'll call this spawn1, and we'll slide it along the x-axis, say by a value of 5, and then we'll duplicate it and call it spawn2, and we'll give it an x value of -5, and then we'll duplicate it again. We'll call it spawn3, and we give it an x value of 0 and a z value of -5, and then finally duplicate that, and we'll call it number 4, and we'll give that a value of 5. Okay, so we've got 4 spawn points, and now what I want to do is I want to make a canvas. So I'm going to go UI and canvas, and then on my canvas I want a UI button, and we'll call this score. And before I do anything with it, I will just get my canvas to scale with screen. So I'm going to look at my button here. I'll just move it up and throw it over there. Excuse me. I'm going to duplicate that, and we'll call it time, and then we'll just slide that way, and we're not too worried. Now so I have a script here called score, and I'm going to put that on my canvas, and it's going to control my score. score. So let's have a look at that. So I've got it's not huge, but it's got a load of variables in it. So I'm going last fire is 0. This is going to control some spawning. I've got an array of transforms, and I'm going to say if time is bigger than my fire rate, which is 2 seconds, then run this function here, or this method called shoot. And I'm just going to randomly select something from my spawn length. So I've got this spawn point here, and I'm going to instantiate a target. I'm going to make a prefab and position it wherever it has been randomly selected, and then reset the timer. So that's the first thing the script is doing. It is firing, it's spawning targets for us to look at. And then the other thing it's doing is it's updating the score text, and it's updating the time. And then I have this thing here where if I score more than 4, I change to a new level. If time runs out, I change to a new level. But we're not going to make those levels, so it's going to error when we either score more than 4 or lose out on time. Anyways, that's what this script does. I have this one here as well, and this script here, if you notice in my score count, so my actual score is a public static variable. So over here, I'm going to put this on my target, and I'm going to, so the target's going to destroy itself. That should probably be the last line in the script. Let me do that. And what I'm doing here is I am changing that public static score. I'm saying it's +1. And I'm sure there's a simpler way to write that. Okay, and now let's have a look at my, so I have this prefab here, so let's drag this in. There we go. And we'll just have a look at that. So this is a cube, and I have dropped this image onto that cube, so it looks like a target. And it's got a box collider, and then it's got the target script, which is that one there, which is basically void delete. So it's going to delete itself after it adds 1 to the score. And it runs that script, so ignore this first one, that shouldn't be there. So let's go pointer enter, and so we're going to reference itself. So we're going to run target script and delete. So when I look at this, it's going to add 1 to the score and then delete itself. So let's just update that prefab, and then we can delete that. And then the last thing we need to do is just set up the script here. So it's asking me where the score is. So that's the score text field. And then time, that's the time text field. And my size, I have 4 spawn points. So we've got 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And then it's asking me what my target is, and this is my prefab target here. That's what I want spawned. So now let's see if we can get a bit of a game. So I press play, and let's see if I can zoom in. I'm quite far out, so I'll zoom in down here, and we'll hold down. So I've scored 1, and I have scored 4, and I'm running an error on 4 because I can't load the scene. I don't have a winning scene to load. So let's just go back here and do that. So that I don't. So I'll see if I can rack up a bigger score than 4. What have I done? 29-12. Oh yeah, because I need to do that as well, or it makes no sense. Okay, so so let's press play, and I can look around, and I got a score of 2. There must have been 2 of them there. And there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. And you can see the time ticking down. So basically I've got kind of a VR game that when I turn my head, when I look around, I can look at objects, and by looking at them I destroy them and I get a score. And then you can see here it can't load the lost scene because it doesn't exist. So that's it in a nutshell. So I will upload this project, so let's save that for you, and we can look over this again. But that's sort of a very basic kind of VR game, and we'll be building on this to kind of make a horror kind of house sort of exploration game, using quite a few of the tools that we're exploring in this tutorial here. Alright, so that's enough for now, and thank you very much.